Okwe and welcome to the All Shows Nigerian channel, where I review Nollywood movies, series and reality TV shows. Today I'll be reviewing one of the latest Nigerian Amazon movies titled The Trade, produced by Jadesola Osiberu and starring popular actors and actresses Rita Dominic, Charles Inoje, Chiwetalowago, Blossom Chukwu-Jeku, Sean Fakwa, Waje Irobe and Ali Nuhu. So the way this review will work is I will take my time to summarize the story for people who may not have had a chance to watch the movie, and then I'll give my take and overall ratings of the entire movie at the end. So with that being said, let's get into the nitty-gritty of this review. So the movie starts off with a man named Eric driving on a rough road, but he's soon ambushed by gunmen who are soon on a goose chase with him. They're able to maneuver their way around him and corner him to a spot on the road and then force him into their vehicle, leaving his vehicle abandoned on the road. Eric explains to them during the ride that he knows their boss and that he's a good friend of his. Confused and shocked by this revelation, the kidnappers contact their boss in prison, whose name is Ekene, to confirm Eric's claim. Eric's claims soon check out and Ekene orders his boys to release him immediately. As a result of his car being abandoned by the roadside, it has been confiscated by the police. But thankfully, he was going to get it back, although he was going to have to pay some mandatory fees to the police, which included towing and other miscellaneous services. And so, Nigerian police can literally use anything to milk money out of the citizens, even when it's unnecessary. Comment down below your thoughts if you have ever been asked to pay outrageous fees during an encounter with the police. So in the next scene, we see a young officer by the name of Charles come to visit the Deputy Commissioner of Police for the Intelligence Response Team, also known as IRT, in his office. We soon find out that he is someone that has looked up to the Commissioner, whose name is Buka, for years now, and was looking for an opportunity to learn directly from him. During their conversation, Buka gets a call to which he abruptly leaves the office, with an obedient and ready Charles trailing along. They soon get to the home of a politician's girlfriend, who seems to have a predicament that she needed help from the police with. Charles feels strongly that the case does not require the help of the IRT, but rather the SARS, as the IRT should be attending to more befitting cases instead. He soon receives a rude awakening on how much influence there is by politicians within the capital city of Nigeria, which made all departments of the policing sectors be at their beck and call, no matter how insignificant their cases may be. In the next scene, we see Eric in Lagos for a meeting he has with a debtor of his that he has hostage. He informs the debtor that his mother had paid the remaining balance of his ransom and that he was going to be released. They soon blindfold him and take him to a junction at the road where they drop him off. Eric gives the debtor some money for transport and soon flees the scene with his men. In the next scene, we see Eric come home to his family. And from this scene, we can tell that at home or to his family, he is a God-fearing man and loving father to his children, which is ironic to the other life that he lives as a kidnapper. So in the next scene, Buka is just rounding up his prayers for the day when he gets a call from an old acquaintance of his, who informs him of a boy who was missing for a while but just got released the night before by Eric and his team. We also learned that the boy in question is the boy that Eric had released, and that Eric was a notorious criminal in the country and was well known for kidnaps, killings, and demanding of ransoms from people. In the next scene, we see Eric having a meeting with his account officer named Ebuka, whom he needs to transfer some money for him to get some shipments brought into the country. Ebuka tips Eric off on some information about a particular woman that had come to the accounting branch he worked for and could potentially be their next target, as she was an inheritor of one of the biggest transportation companies in Nigeria. He was also able to give them her home and office address, and with this, Eric and his men were able to stalk the woman and monitor her daily routines and activities for the next few weeks to check out the accountant's information. Once the story checked out, Eric and his men eventually strategize and come up with an elaborate plan and execute it. In the next scene, Charles and his co-worker Amina are seen discussing the latest case about Eric within the agency. They are soon interrupted by Buka, who is trying to get more information from the IT team regarding Eric's case, but he isn't yielding much major leads yet. On the other hand, we see Eric enjoying life and vibing at a club with a young lady I believe is his baby mama. He leaves her for a couple of minutes to get some drinks for them, and on his way back, he sees a male stranger approaching her and being forceful with her. Eric is obviously triggered by this, but waits till he is outside of the club to do something about it. On his way out with his lady, he sees the man urinating, urinating at the side of the road and takes the opportunity to attack him. He soon goes into an unexpected level of rage and beats the man to stupor before finally letting go due to the lady's begging. They both finally get into Eric's car, and the lady shows appreciation to Eric for defending her and going to such lengths to protect her. Emotions run high and they eventually have sex with each other in the car. So in the next scene, we see the IRT analyzing the alarming rate of kidnappings in the country lately, ranging from the Boko Haram cases of 2014 and other similar cases, including that of Eric's kidnapping group. After the presentation, we see Buka talking to his superior, who let him know that his hands were tied, as the government was not yielding enough for the budget needed to facilitate the IRT agency in taking down high-end and notorious national criminals, such as Eric. But Buka is persuasive and soon makes his boss yield to at least promising that he will do something about the situation. On the other hand, Charles is out on investigation duty for the Eric case. They interview victims of Eric, but none of them agree to talk, except for the boy who had been released earlier by Eric at the beginning of the movie. They are soon able to get him to speak on his experiences while held hostage, in hopes that he would help and yield some important information for the ongoing investigation. In the next scene, we see Eric and his men plotting their next kidnapping scheme, while sharing their earnings among one another like one big happy crime family. One of his men expresses that he has a sick wife in need of an operation, which he can't afford for at the moment. Eric offers to borrow him some money, with the condition that it will be taken out of his next pay. The man is overjoyed by this and they soon go back to their plotting. So it's finally the day of the big kidnap, and we see Eric and his men in strategic locations around the woman's office, waiting to execute their plan. She is seen leaving her office to her car, and they soon trail along slowly with the woman's vehicle, but soon realize that a policeman is in the area. They decide to still go through with the mission and are able to ambush the officer, kidnap the target, and flee the scene on time before any police backup is called. On their way to their hideout, they are stopped on the road by some road officers, whom they are able to bribe to allow them pass through without any questions. Typical. Comment down below your thoughts on this scene. So eventually they get to the hideout and Eric tries to make some small talk with the woman, whom we find out that her name is Doris. He asks for her husband's number and she is initially hesitant to give it, but after some threats she complies. We then see her husband arrive home to the news that his wife is kidnapped and nowhere to be found. He soon sent a picture of his wife through an unknown email, and Eric soon calls him using a private number, demanding a sum of $1 million for his wife's release. In the next scene, we see Eric speaking to his wife about some housing properties he had just purchased for her in Ghana. While on the call, we see that he is currently also with his baby mama at the moment and is about to buy her a new and expensive car as well. When I tell you that while this scene was playing, I was just singing that popular Nigerian song, Bilonia Oya Jikashi, chopping and spending Jikashi. There is no mercy for money. Aka why Jikashi? Because so much money. House for the main wife, car for the baby mama. Oh girl, talk about putting your money where your mouth is. Comment down below your thoughts on this scene. Anyways, he makes a call after to one of his boys to get Doris some food to eat while she was still held hostage. Doris refuses to eat and tells the boys to shut up while they taunt her, which makes him land a huge slap to her face. It is now evening and Doris asks for some water to shower and clean up while as she is on her period. Thankfully, she's granted her request, and as she freshens up, she overhears one of Eric's men talking on the phone about his money troubles. She tries to take advantage of this opportunity and tell him that she will take care of his financial issues if he cooperates with her and helps her escape. The boy catches on quick and that she is trying to manipulate him, and he soon ends the conversation with her abruptly. In the next scene, we see Doris's husband scrambling around to look for the ransom amount. He is once again contacted by Eric and tells Eric that he has gathered about $350,000 out of the amount needed. Eric then gives him directions on where and how to drop the money, which the man follows dutifully. He eventually gets to the drop-off area and leaves the money there as instructed, which is soon after picked up by Eric once the husband is gone. In the next scene, we see Eric and his wife discussing and being the family man that he portrays to his loved ones. His wife expresses her concern of feeling lonely and tired to her husband and wants to be more involved in the recent church that they joined, as he doesn't let people come over to their home or allow the family members to socialize outside the home. But after much convincing, he agrees with her request and allows her and the kids to be more involved in the church, but only the church. In the next scene, Eric and his wife are at church watching their little girl sing, as she is part of the kids' church choir. On the other hand, we see the IRT officers undercover in the area, trying to get information and any form of leads from the neighbors around the area. And there is a part of that we see where the police officers literally cross paths with Eric's men on the road and are literally not aware of it. The police officers, on the other hand, feel like they are reaching a dead end with the case, but soon get tipped up about some recent and hopeful news about their suspect, which may turn around the case. In the next scene, another of Eric's men is trying to sexually assault Doris, but thankfully he is interrupted by another of Eric's men, also literally saving her from him. In the next scene, we see Eric driving, but soon receives a call from his sister Ngozi, who informs him that their father is sick and close to death. He is not fazed by this news, but his sister uses the opportunity to try and talk to him about spending some time with his side of the family. We soon find out that Eric has not seen his dying father in 19 years, and that Ngozi and their father were not allowed to come to Eric's house to visit his nuclear family, unless it was in a hotel or public setting, which was even also limited and often as a result of Ngozi's complaints. He still is nonchalant about the situation of his father and ends the call abruptly with his sister. In the next scene, Eric's wife is seen cooking at home with her kids around her. Eric soon joins them and one of his sons playfully takes a picture of him, which gets Eric into a furious rage. He then wants his son to never do that again and angrily leaves the house and goes to his mistress's house, who gladly welcomes him and offers him some food to eat. So my thoughts from these scenes was that I guess unlike his wife, the mistress didn't really ask questions as long as the money kept flowing in. And rather than tell his wife what was going on and give her the emotional and physical stability in the marriage that she asked of him for herself and the kids, he would rather flee to his mistress's place as a way of deflecting and avoiding the situation at hand. Comment down below your thoughts on this scene. So in the next scene, we see the man that works for Eric who has financial issues, talking to someone on the phone to give him another week of grace for his payment. He finally gives in and tells Doris that he is ready to go ahead with helping her escape, as long as she pays him for it. Doris agrees and they both discuss their plans secretly. In the next scene, we see the IRT speaking to a UK investigator to check out their lead that they got earlier, but he soon informs them that he doesn't think that their suspect that they are closing in on was the guy that they were looking for, because the person they were looking into had no job ties in Nigeria and was married in the US with 3 kids for 15 years, and that his financial records checked out and didn't show that he had any business in Nigeria since the time he moved to the UK for studies years ago. Charles and Booker are obviously frustrated by this news, and Charles lashes out, which makes Booker ask him to leave his office. Charles eventually cools off with the help of Amina, and they soon start brainstorming the case together once more. So in the next scene, it is finally the planned night for Doris to escape. The man helping her to escape warns her that once he unchains her, it's all man for himself, and that this is as far as he helps her, and if by any chance that she gets caught, he'll be on the side of the men attempting to get her back or possibly kill her. She understands the situation at hand and he proceeds to unchain her. Once everyone is asleep, she executes her plan. Eric's men soon realize that she's gone and they go in search for her. But thankfully, Doris is able to escape, and not too long after, the men alert Eric about the situation. Visibly shocked and annoyed by the news, Eric asks his men to pack all their traceable items from the location, burn their SIM cards, and sell their kidnapping vehicle. The men obey their boss and kill the remaining hostages they had held at the location before fleeing the area with their belongings. Soon after, we see bright police officers of Eric in the area, trying to clean up his tracks at the crime scene. In the next scene, Doris finds her way to a hospital and gets in contact with her husband. She gives him her current location and he hurriedly goes with his son to the hospital she's admitted in, and they reunite as a family. That part was actually really nice to see because, yeah, it was really nice. Finally, she had escaped and she wasn't harmed and was able to get back to her family, thankfully. So in the next scene, Charles and Buka are alerted of the recent events and pay a visit to the local police station that had discovered the crime scene. The DPO of the station seems very non-cooperative with them and lies that the evidence gotten was still under review and investigation by his own team. Buka and Charles don't back down and instead take matters into their own hands by leaving the station and going straight to the location of the crime scene. Later on in the day, the chief of police gives a televised statement of the huge break in the case and the escape of Doris from the hands of her kidnappers, Eric and his gang. Among the numerous citizens listening in on the broadcasted news from different parts of the country was one of Eric's men named Sunday, who is shocked at the moment that Eric had been charging at the amount that Eric had been charging per kidnaps, and soon realized that him and his colleagues had been underpaid and taken advantage of by Eric, who paid them a miser amount of money when compared to $1 million freaking dollars. From that part, I could sense that the wahala was about to break out between Eric and his gang, and a lot of snitches were going to start coming up. Comment down below your thoughts so far. But anyways, the head of police further goes on and says that there is a reward of 35 million naira out to anyone who would come forward with information that could potentially take down Eric once and for all. On the other hand, Charles and Eric are still at the crime scene. They search the crime scene extensively and soon find an ATM receipt in the trash can, which they send to the IRT data analysis team for tracing. The results come back and the transaction is traced to the bank account of a man named Meshach, who was one of Eric's men. The police invade Meshach's home, but he's already on the run on the streets, but is soon caught up by one of the police officers. They take him into custody and one by one Eric's men are fished out and arrested on a daily basis after that. We soon learned that Sunday from earlier had also come to the police station and was now giving vital information about his boss in an attempt to attain the bounty out on Eric by the police. Eric is soon alerted about Sunday's disloyalty to him by one of the bright police officers and how much police were closing in on him as well. He soon informs his wife to pack all her and the kids' belongings as he flies them in a haste to Ghana. Back at the IRT headquarters, the police are getting leads on how Eric carried out operations and even details of his operations. However, there's still not any vital information on Eric himself or his personal life, as none of his men knew anything about him on a personal level. Eventually, they are able to get information on Eric's baby mama and soon take her into custody to the police station for questioning. Initially, she is hesitant to divulge information, but soon complies after a few threats were made to her. After all the gathered information was substantial enough, the IRT formed a special task force unit and planned out how to execute their arrest of Eric. They scrutinized 8 of Eric's closest associates in an attempt to fish him out. Sunday's cooperation with the police lands him to a deadly fate as Eric seeks him out as well and kills him. After doing that, he meets up with his sister Ngozi at a hotel to discreetly give her some money and inform her that he will be on the move again and may never come back. The IRT is soon notified of Sunday's death, which hits them really hard because he was a key witness and key informant for the case. Honestly, Sunday's death didn't really come as a surprise to me, because knowing how Eric operates, Sunday should have known that this would be his fate for snitching on his boss. But comment down below what you guys think so far. So in the next scene, Eric contacts his baby mama and asks her to meet him at the front of her house. Unknown to him, some police officers are at her place at the time he placed the call to her, and they informed their units to stay on alert as the suspect was in contact with them. Charles is one of the officers positioned outside of the baby mama's home, and as soon as she gets into the car with Eric, he follows suit and trails the car. During their ride, Eric soon figures out that he is being followed and kicks his baby mama out of the car before speeding away. While driving, he tries to book the next flight to Ghana, but is soon distracted and collides with an incoming vehicle, which leads to a car accident. Charles sees all this play out and decides to confront the target before calling backup or waiting for backup to approach. Unfortunately for him, he is shot by Eric while approaching, and Eric soon steals Charles' vehicle and flees the scene. Damn, low-key, that was like the most stupidest act of bravery I've ever seen in my life. Like, why would you do all that and talk all that big talk in the beginning about how, oh yeah, you want to be a great detective, blah blah blah, you want to take down Eric, just to be shot within a few minutes of approaching him? I literally laughed so hard at this scene, honestly, because it was just so foolish and funny how he died. Comment down below your thoughts. So in the morning, the IRS finds Charles' body, and the entire team, including Booker, is sad and mournful and completely focused on taking down Eric to avenge Charles' death. Even though Eric has discarded his cell phone in order to avoid being tracked, unknown to him, Charles' phone was still in the vehicle he stole, so they could still track his movements with that. In the next scene, Eric finally arrives his rental home and tries to pack his final belongings before heading to the airport. Unfortunately for him, the police arrive his home just when he's about to leave, but he is able to narrowly escape through a secret passageway in his house. The police are gutted that they were so close to catching him yet again, but they soon get tipped off by Eric's baby mama about his plans to flee to Ghana, as she had seen a Ghanaian passport in his car the night before. The IRT followed this lead and head towards the airport as well. And on getting to the airport, Eric pays a private jet to fly him to Ghana, and just when he's about to take off, the police literally arrive in the nick of time to stop the flight and finally make their arrest. His baby mama is called to the scene to identify him, and when she does, soon after he's taken into custody. Alright, that's the end of the movie review, so here are my thoughts. Honestly, I don't really have much to say about this movie negatively. It was because it was just spot on and just great in every single way. The scenes were precise, flowed easily, and did not feel rushed at all. And the movie concept was also well developed, not overly complicated, and very easy to understand. Another thing I loved about the movie was the main character, Eric, who was played by popular actor Blossom Chukwujeku. When I tell you he executed the egotic and psychotic criminal mastermind role to the T, because he did an excellent job with the character and embodied the role of Eric so well, and even made some scenes funny and entertaining as well, with his very convincing acting skills. I also loved how they showcased a different side of the Nigerian crime and investigation unit, which we don't often see in Nollywood movies, and even when we do, it's some archaic level of technology. But in this movie, we get to see these scenes where they try to use this high-end type of technology and actually do a thorough investigation and rundown of their suspect in a way that I've never seen in Hollywood before. Overall, I'll rate this movie an 8.5 out of 10. I think the actors did an amazing job with their roles, and I think the producers really passed across their movie ideology very successfully. Alright guys, so we've come to the end of this movie review. Comment down below what you guys liked about this movie overall and the summary. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, like, and turn on your post notifications so you get notified every time your girl posts a new review. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!